Welcome back, guys, to another episode of Business from the Bass Boat on the Serious Angler Network. And guys, today we've got a cool guest coming on. He's been on in the past and is just someone who has kind of that entrepreneurial mindset in the fishing world, does a lot of stuff outside of fishing to make ends meet and in the fishing industry as well. And I thought it would be a great idea to get him on to talk about, first of all, how his season's going, and then also kind of lead into what I had talked about on the previous episode regarding maybe some of the economic side of bass fishing and tournament anglers in general and what things are looking like right now. So would love to see, let's see. Nope, we're good here. John Hunter's here. Let's see. How's it going, man?
Hey, Adam, how are you?
Dude, I'm doing well. I'm doing well. It's sunny here in Colorado. It's not, although yesterday was like 18 degrees. It's been like warm. And then we had a freaking like cold front, I guess, that a lot of people did, and all this wind and stuff, but not as much wind as you had.
A lot of power outages. So, but thankfully, the house here, no damage, and no one got hurt. Nothing really catastrophic happened. Some damage, but nothing crazy. So thankful for that.
Man, that's good to hear. Like I just, man, like we're always thinking natural disasters and all this stuff in Colorado, and it's like we don't have it that bad. We don't have to worry about those kinds of situations. I mean, you guys seem to. I mean, how many times are you under tornado watch there annually, or is it that often, or is that kind of more in that like Oklahoma and as you get kind of this?
Yeah, no, like the western part of the state is flatter. So down like around Kentucky Lake, where they had all the bad stuff happen earlier this year, but that whole area, like Indiana, Western Kentucky, even northern parts of Alabama and Tennessee, like that's Tornado Alley. We're kind of like up in the more northern part, so we don't have it as bad, but we have a handful a year.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. I just was down on Texoma fishing the Toyota series there just as a co. I was down in Texas, down in Lubbock working, and I was just like, man, I'll just bring some rods and jump in as a co. And man, like there was a tornado that had just gone through Hudson, Oklahoma or something, and driving around there, like, dude, it was crazy. Like just flattened. Like you can literally see the alley that it went through the trees and stuff, like on a section.
Isn't it crazy? Yeah. I mean, I went down to Kentucky Lake after it happened, and it's crazy how you can see its path so clear. It's wild.
Yeah. Yeah, dude, it is wild. Oh man. Scary stuff, but glad that the house is okay and the community wasn't damaged too bad. So glad to hear it.
My dog is ringing her bells. Let me let her out real quick.
You're good. I hear it. You're good.
Oh man, she wouldn't stop. That means she's about to pee on the floor if I don't let her go.
That's not good. Man, well, first, I really wanted to get into, I know you've been close in this kind of position before. I know as far as on the open side of things and what you're doing there, I wanted to get kind of a recap for your season thus far in the Southern Opens. And then I also was curious too, if you were planning on fishing any other divisions or if you were just kind of focused on that Southern.
Yeah, it does seem like you said. I think the past 2 or 3 years I've been top 10 or top 7. Like
Right
just
there.
right there. I haven't. This year I'm probably in a better position than I've ever in the past. I think I'm net second. There's a couple guys ahead of me for second, but they're both elite. So I'm in a good spot. But you got to put 3 tournaments together. I've had 2 good ones. And we just got to get it done at Hartwell in the third one. I am fishing the Central Division, kicking myself for not signing up for all 3. But I'm getting married the weekend before the last one starts, and Natalie was pretty adamant on the honeymoon, so I totally understand. There's fishing's big in my life, but there's things that are bigger. So I decided to not do the Northerns. So I could fulfill her wish there. So we're gonna do the honeymoon right after the wedding, and that would have been right when I've been at the Chesapeake for the final one.
Sure.
So just doing the Centrals and the Southerns, and if it's meant to be for me to make it in this year, then it'll be in one of those 2 divisions.
Yeah. No, dude, nothing wrong with that, and I think that's it's a good thing to to realize, man, some things in life are more important, and in those situations, like that's a lot, and it's right at the end of the year. It seems like that the opens kind of stack that fall season, which makes it tough for weddings, I guess, for people with the kind of like fall, late summer weddings, and also archery hunters. When you get kind of into that
Yeah.
September range, it's like, gosh, dang it, so many
Yep.
tournaments right here.
Absolutely.
Nice. Well, I mean, on your end of things with Hartwell, and it's like the Southern Division, it's interesting. I thought it was like by far the best lakes out of all the opens, and most interesting to me. But when you have a situation like this, like you said, you're sitting second in the points really because two guys in the top are already in the Elite Series. Do you prepare differently for a tournament where you have that sort of pressure? Are you spending more time practicing as it's an open, or do you try to approach it like any other event?
Man, it would depend. Like if it was a tournament like a Cherokee, for instance,
Mhm.
um, I probably wouldn't because it's a springtime tournament. Things are changing daily, um, hourly. So no, if it depends. So this one's in fall. They're probably going to be a school and by. There's probably going to be yeah. So yes, I may treat this one. Uh, I may put a little more time in just because the time can actually you can reap the rewards from the time you put in.
Sure.
Whereas like if I had gone to Cherokee 2 weeks early, well, I mean what you were doing 2 weeks ago probably wasn't going to play two
Mhm.
weeks later in the spring, early spring. So stuff's a little more settled in that time of the year in October. If it gets real cold, some things can change, but
Sure.
South Carolina in October is probably still pretty warm. So
Yeah.
or stuff's pretty steady.
Yeah.
So, anyways, yeah, I'll probably put in a little extra time. I'll probably go down in September, and then I probably won't spend for like my official trip there. I usually try and give it for the opens 4 or 5 days, just because you just wear your body down. So I probably won't do any more than that. I'll probably get there Friday night or something, start practice Saturday. But I probably will take a pre-trip down for a few days just to
Gotcha.
idle around and try and find some cane and brush piles and whatever, any kind of little difference I may find to try and catch fish off of.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think that's a good point. I mean, in my eyes, like the 2 times a year where if there's not an off limits on an event and you're able to take extra time, it's like either when it's an early spring, like almost a winter tournament,
Hmm.
or a summer derby and into that kind of fall zone. I mean,
Yep.
you can catch like a stable offshore bite, and you
Hmm.
can go find that structure and those fish. There's a better chance because, like you said, I mean, some of these guys that you're seeing practicing the opens right now for 30 days or whatever, it's like, dude, that's not gonna, or 10 days even, like, it's not gonna do you much good when it's a spring derby and those fish are gonna be on the move every 3 days or every 2 days or one day. Things change.
For sure, and you get locked into history, and I mean, it can hurt you a lot more than it can help you sometimes. Like sometimes you just need a couple days. You feel like you need more, but sometimes you really don't.
Yeah, yeah. Awesome. Well, how did Cherokee go for you? And that was, I mean, how close is that? Is that more of a home lake for you, or not really?
Yeah, I wouldn't call it a home lake, but it's probably one of the closest big lakes that I would consider a home lake. I've been to Cherokee quite a few times. It's 4 hours from my house, but
Okay.
one of my best friends is Mike Huff. He fishes the Elite Series, and
Yeah.
the whole Huff family I'm extremely close with. Mike and I are college fishing partners, and so I've been going to Cherokee since I was 18, 19 years old. Probably been going for 10 years now, a handful of times a year because they have a lake house down there. So we'll go stay and fun fish. And so I've kind of been around that lake community and been going there for years.
Mhm.
So I do know quite a bit about the fishery and kind of the things that go on there. But it's still different every time I've ever been. So you still got to kind of figure it out. But it is nice to know in the back of your mind, I think I can go catch one on this bank if I need it. It just calms you down a little bit, I think. What's
Sure.
funny is when I've gone there and done well, though, it's rarely been on stuff that I knew about.
Really?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, but it gives you a sense of calm because you feel at least like if something isn't going right, you know where you can go. But
So
yeah, no, Cherokee, it's a fun lake. I love going there. I've been going there for years. So I won't stretch call it a home lake, but it's probably the closest thing to it for me because I don't have crap around my house.
I'm with you. I'm with you, man. I'm in the same kind of boat. But um, as far as that tournament went, were you out there Deakin? And I haven't checked in your YouTube stuff yet, or if that's even up. But what? How did it kind of set up for you, and how did it play out in the Derby?
Yeah, it's kind of wild, man. I thought, first our tournament was like March 30th or April 1st or something. And that's
Mhm.
a real flip of the coin, It could be like they could be spawning. I mean, it just depends on the weather. And this year everything is so far behind down here. I mean, everything's about 2 weeks late is what it's seeming like. Um, and they were, yeah, I caught most of them on a Demiki and 18 to 24 feet of water, which is something that's usually like that thing's starting to wind up about mid March usually. So it was still going 2 weeks later, and I caught them. Let's see, I think I caught 7 of the 10 bass I weighed um, on a Demiki, and would catch my limit doing that every day, and would go coal up shallow a few times.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, winding around the bank. But guys did good shallow. It really surprised me. I thought it was uh, pretty tough. What little shallow fishing I did in practice, because I felt like that wasn't something I wanted to practice a lot. Because you could, you know, it's kind of random. You just got to go do it.
Yeah, yeah, I agree.
But so I spent most time deep, um, and from what I heard and what I sampled, set shallow just wasn't happening. But we had a really warm day. On our day, we could only fish till noon. Very warm, like 80. Like we wore bibs and hood beanies and gloves every day until the off day, or I
Okay.
call it the half day. And a lot of guys don't go out that day. Everyone has to be off by like 11:45. So a lot of the fishing pressure kind of the lake gets to relax a little bit. It was sunny, slick. And then the night before the tournament, we had a warm rain, and then it blew. We got canceled the first day, and it blew, so the lake got another rest day. But it was warm that day. It blew really hard, so you had 2 warm days, a lot of wind pushing bait around, and a lot of fishing pressure that had kind of relaxed the lake for a day and a half. And I just think that's why you saw those first day weights that were so incredible, because the fish had a chance to pull up. They weren't getting hit in the head. And the first day, it was just a lot of guys really ran up shallow. There's some guys talking about early shad spawn going on. And
Wow.
so, anyways, it was just, it happened the first day there. The place looked amazing and fished incredible. The second day, weights fell off a lot as I expected. Um, but yeah, it benefited me because I was catching them out.
Yeah, no, I mean, and I think that's something to be said about that early. If there's still a deep bite happening that time of the year, it's generally more consistent. And those weights, they dropped so quick that second day. I
Mhm.
was like, it's dang, the
Yeah,
guys
I had
not catching today.
15.8 and I was in 39th place, which is, I mean, I
That's
actually like
just
I quit. Like I didn't go to some places that I had a feeling I could definitely coal at like
really
lunchtime. I had that. I wasn't doing to like 4 or 5, and I didn't go to them because I thought 15.8 would be top 20 for sure, and I wanted to save those fish.
sure,
Which I'm glad I did because I went to those places. I didn't catch them on anything. I caught them the first day. I didn't catch a bass. So
really.
I needed all those places the second day and had 16 something. And that was, moved me pretty far up there. But
Yeah. So how many times, I guess, so for you, it obviously was still good the second day. Like you said, though, you were having to run
the second
all
day was actually the best day I had. One of the better days I've had in Cherokee. And I mean, it was so much fun.
really.
Yeah, it was crazy. I didn't have a bass at 9:45, so I was a little not panicked yet, but I was starting to get concerned, and I was like, I need to go run up here and check these places that I didn't hit the first day because I, tried to catch them on where I caught them the first day to start. Uh,
Sure.
just wasn't happening, so I went over there and lost my first like 3 pound bite,
Oh,
and then caught a three pounder, and then from there the next 2.5 hours I really caught them. Like I think I've caught like
wow.
15 keepers in the next 2 hours, and then went shallow and caught a few keepers cold, and then went back out and probably caught another 5 or 6 keepers.
Oh, man.
Yeah, it was
You
fun.
were
I ate
on
a whole lot in the afternoon, but I mean I probably had 20, 25 keepers. It was a fun day.
Heck yeah. No, that's the opposite of what it looked like a lot of guys' weights did. I mean, that's great that you had that much water found,
Mhm.
to where that you could go run that stuff that you didn't touch, and that's always a tough call, right? Like going into that first day, especially like you said. I mean, if you would have known the weights were higher, you probably would have hammered some of those fish. But realizing that you're like, I feel pretty good with this weight,
Yeah.
and then you're like, could
I'm
save.
glad I didn't.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So where is your next derby then? Probably a pro circuit event, right?
Yeah, I'm leaving for Pickwick on Sunday.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. What are your kind of initial thoughts there?
Man, it's been behind here. I would say, in a normal year, you could probably start to see some, and it may still happen. I don't know the water temperature. We've not been allowed to talk to anybody, and it
Sure.
may still be a shad, and there probably will be some shad spawn stuff going on.
Mhm.
There always is third week of April. It's just there will be some of that probably. It probably won't be as heavy as it would be in a normal year. But I think there'll be a ton of bass spawning, a lot of fish shallow. Um, you know, I feel like in any other year, I would say this is 1,000% going to be one on a shallow bar offshore, and still probably 70% sure it will.
'Kay.
60, 70, but I think there's an outside chance somebody could go up shallow and solely win this tournament. Fish in the bank, fishing shallow, just because I think it's been cold, it's finally getting warm, and like I feel like there should be a big concentration of fish up on the bank, shallow. But Tennessee River, a lot of those fish will spawn out there on those main river bars and whatnot.
Mm.
That's where a lot of big ones will spawn. It's just off the bank on some shallow stuff and creeks and on bars behind, in current breaks. So um, it'll probably still get one out a little bit,
Sure.
not deep, so to say, but yeah, that's kind of my thoughts. I'm gonna fish the bank, and I'm gonna try fish some shallow bars and some shallow, you know, off the bank shallow stuff.
Yeah. I
Shallow
think
deep, shallow deep stuff.
shallow deep. Dude, I think that's a thing that has caught so many big fish over these last couple of years, and, it's definitely changed my mindset at looking at places are kind of these shallow, deep situations. They seem to hold big fish, and in a situation where it's like a pre-spawn slash post-spawn, it's kinda one of those areas where, those big ones are kinda in between. And, like,
Hmm.
it's been such a weird year too, like you're saying, everything's kinda behind. It seems like the fish have been, like, frustrated almost. It's like the only thing I relate it to, like, as far as elk hunting, it's like the rut's coming, and then you have all these fronts, and then everything's just I feel like one of these things is gonna pop open, like, it's gonna bust open, and they're
Hmm.
gonna get there, and they have, right, on certain parts of the country, but it's just been such a, like, a they're up and then they're kinda backing off or they're up it's just like a in
Yeah.
this stage of staging that feels like it's been going on forever.
Hmm. Absolutely. I think Pickwick will be. I think the fishing will be good. I think the weights will be good. I'm looking forward to going. I just think it'll be a fun turn. I think you'll just be able to go fish and catch them.
Heck yeah, man.
Yep.
Awesome. Well, let's get into a little bit of I'm curious on your side of things, especially running multiple tours, if you have heard anything just regarding fuel prices. I'm sure a bunch of guys are complaining about, oh gosh, it's going to cost $200 to fill up the boat and this and that.
Hmm.
I mean, from your side of things, with we're in an inflationary state right now, like that's no secret. Everything's costing a lot more money. How do you see that affect the top level tournament angler guys? And then I would love to compare that to maybe your guys who are opens, Toyota series, kind of that AAA level, if you will.
Yeah, man. I think it affects everybody. Heck, I even catch myself this year, like thinking, should I pull out and take the truck to this ramp, or should I just run the boat 20 miles upriver? Like,
It's a
you
good
know,
point.
because like in the boat, you're getting 2.5 miles a gallon, and the truck, you get like 12. So, like, I mean, and then time, you also got to factor time. Well, it only takes me 20 minutes in the boat. It might take me 45. But like, I used to never, like, 2 years ago when dollars a $1.89, like I didn't think about that. Just freaking go in the boat. I mean, it'll
Get on
cost
pad, yeah.
$10, 20, $15. Now it costs you 60 or 70. And I don't that didn't cross my lot, but it has a time or two, and I'm like, dang, I used to never, wouldn't even consider that. And
Yeah.
I think you're going to see that across the board. My opinion right now is that it's not this year. We probably won't see a major effect on on guys not fishing or not doing it because of it, because and that's the reason the economy, I don't feel like, has really seen or felt the effect of this yet, is because everybody, it's things have been so good for so many years. I mean, you think like 2017, 2016 is when things started to kind of rage, and then 2018, 19, 20, 18, 19 were great. 20 was a COVID year, but still great for a lot of people. Um, so, you know, things were good for a while. So people have had more cash than they've ever had right now.
Mhm.
Everyone, that's why everyone's in the market to buy a house. I mean, people are, they have money right now. And so I think there's going to be a lag and a delay before we actually um, see the effects, but we're going to see the effects. Like, I don't
Yeah.
think it's gonna be this year, but I think you'll start to see it next year. I really do. I'm not trying to be the Debbie Downer, and I'm not saying that I don't think we're going to have like an '08 kind of crash.
Sure.
There's going to be some little correction, and different in every one of these little corrections, different sectors of the economy feel it. Like '08 was everything, but it was primarily real estate. Um, you look back, and and equities felt it too in turn, but every downturn, there's a different kind of main factor that feels it. And I don't know what this one will be, but
Right.
I don't think real estate. Um, Everyone's talking about the housing market. I just don't think that that's going to be, you know, the main driver, or you know what feels it the most this time around. But
Sure.
anyways, I mean, for us as anglers, I think we're feeling it now. It's not affecting decisions or changing decisions yet, but I think
Mhm.
it will. If
Yeah.
if we don't get a grip on, especially on transportation costs, because it has such a trickle effect, um, then yeah, it's gonna start affecting people.
Yeah. No, I mean, something that I just was thinking about is like, man, if I was like, for instance, on the open on the James River right now, a lot of guys run into the is it the Chickahominy,
Yeah,
I think?
Chicken. Yep.
Like that's a haul and guys running 70, 80 miles. Like in those situations, I mean, you gotta go if you're on them, right? Like if you found those fish, but how much of the time are you spending in practice? It's like am I really gonna go run down there derby day and then you incorporate wind and everything else? But just from a transportation standpoint, like it's gonna be an expensive week for some of those guys.
It's an expensive fuel bill. It's a 50-gallon deal going up there, usually 46. I've done it a lot. I've been in James River 3 or 4 times. It's a 46 to 45-gallon ordeal. I mean, that's an expensive trip. It's a
It's
couple hundred
expensive
bucks.
trip right now. Yeah.
You do it 2 or 3 days, and you got $1,000 fuel bill like that in practice and tournament.
Mhm.
Um, it's expensive, man. And
Yeah.
you got your $1,000 fuel bill. You pay, say, you get split a room, somebody, you're at 400 or 500 bucks a week there. You buy some tackle for the tournament, 200 or 300 bucks there. Um, you got to eat. I mean, you truck gas, because if you're not driving the boat in practice up there, you're driving your truck. You're driving it one way or the other. You're driving it a good distance.
Mhm.
$300 or $400 during the week. Truck. I mean, next thing you know, you've got 3 grand in this thing,
Oh,
and
yeah. Easy.
a check is 3 grand. So I mean, you have to make a check to break even. And then what if something happens? What if you blow a tire? You have to go to the tire shop. Now you're not making
Yep.
money. So it is tough. The opens have never been a moneymaker though.
Mhm.
It just not. You're not in those to make money unless you're going to make a top 10. Um, but it's even worse now. Whereas you used to break even, maybe come out a little ahead. Now you're with the inflated costs. You're definitely not.
Yeah. You're either looking at that. I mean, the risk reward factor is being able to withstand that, whether it be through sponsorship or a business or putting it on a credit card.
Yeah,
Like
and
that's your route.
exactly. You got to count on sponsors, but the problem with this world is, if your average guy who's going fishing, and next year he gas prices start to really, the cash pile or his cash pile starts to dwindle down a little bit, and he's like, man, I don't know if I can go fishing as much this year. He's buying less tackle. That translates to, our sponsors not having the revenues, and it'll just, it's a bummer. I think we'll start to see it, but
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think I'm in agreement as far as, I think that a lot of people are trying to kind of compare now to like, okay, well, look, this is the same as kind of like after 2008. And I think it's very different just from a housing standpoint because a lot has been fixed on why kind of that bubble burst.
mhm.
Um, and then also you look at how demand is still incredibly high and there's not enough housing. So I think that the housing market is not going to be the catalyst, like you're saying. Um, and it's crazy to me right now, just interest rates are on the climb, but people are red hot still, man. Like
11-year high today.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's gonna affect every aspect of it of fishing too, right? I mean, your guys financing boats and
Mhm.
anything related to the financial market, trucks, anything if you're financing, that's all affected. And what's just frustrating is like tournament fishing is the opposite of an inflation hedge because all your expenses go up, all your gas bill, everything related to your tournament fishing goes up, but payouts like don't change
They
ever.
haven't changed in years, man. I mean, like, you go back and look at the Bassmasters from, I don't know, call it 1998, or, 100 grand was still first place payout. And it was more like they were giving away boats. Like in the 80s, they were giving away boats for big bass, like a boat for a
Yeah,
big bass, like a
not
thousand bucks.
500 bucks.
Yeah, $500, $1,000 now. Okay, it doesn't cover my fuel bill. Back then, gas was $1.47 a gallon, $1.39 a gallon. Your average home value it wasn't 320,000; it was 172,000. I mean, you know, I just don't get it. Like you said, prices have doubled, payouts have stayed the same, and when you look at it on from an inflationary standpoint, it's even worse.
Yeah,
Um, you know, it's crazy. I mean, but you know, with all that said, I don't want to be a negative Nancy on the industry because
sure.
I love it, and there's still ways to make it. I mean, I feel like now with social media and YouTube and direct to consumer sales, an angler or influencer, you have to be both, can bring immediate value to a company, in value that they can truly, um, uh, you know,
Track, right?
yeah, that they can track. I mean, a monetary value that they can say, "Hey, this guy is bringing in this amount of sales. We can see it, and he's worth this." Whereas before this, it was kind of more of like a national brand campaign, which is kind of hard to really put a dollar figure on when you're sponsoring guys. So things are a little different now. So it's hard to compare. I think there's more companies in the industry, which means there's more sponsor dollars. They may not be as big of deals, but there's a little more out there for people to go get if you're creative and you're aggressive, and you can show your worth. So, with all that said, it's tougher nowadays from from an earnings standpoint, from pure earnings like catching bass and trying to show a profit over your expenses. But as long as you're aggressive in the sponsors and your partnerships, then there's still a way to make it in this sport.
Yeah. No, I think that's an important message and not to be all doom and gloom, right? With everything. I think that things change and then you just have to adjust on um your situation and how you can better those companies and grow.
Hmm.
One thought I mean thing that I keep going back to was like I would say like the late 90s, early 2000s when bass fishing was like rocking and rolling, man. When we had Forcewood cut pay out of $1 million and then 700,000, right?
Hmm.
Classic, I think used to be 500,000.
Hmm.
Um, do you think we'll ever see a time with that again, or do you think that is a thing of the past?
Man, I don't, because here's the problem, is they keep cutting payouts and more people are signing up.
You're right.
So I don't blame them. It's not their fault. I
No.
look at it from a business standpoint. What if I was the owners of these corporations who are putting on these tournaments, and I was cutting entry? You know, I could get away with paying out less, and I could bring in more money every year. I mean, why not? I know, you know, from a guy, you know, just an angler standpoint. Well, that's not right. Well,
Still a business.
it's still business. Like they're going to do what they're going to do, and they probably have a lot on the line, but they're going to do what they're going to do to make money and make their business the most profitable it is. I mean, they have shareholders, they have investors. Like I get it. The people who are at fault, honestly, are us. You know, it's the anglers. It's the people still signing up to go out there. I mean, I've always said that there needed to be some sort of not like a union, but an anglers association that is kind of, you know, it incorporates all tours. You know, everyone can kind of come together and see eye to eye. I know some people across certain, you know, certain organizations don't, but I really think there needs to be almost like an anglers union, um, like every other large sport has, so that we can try and protect ourselves from these crazy changes every year. And you know, I know I'm not bashing the organizations. I know they're doing the best they can, and to make it go around. But yeah, I mean, I feel like that's the only way to combat it is for anglers to get on the same page and express their concerns in a constructive way to the organizations. Like it's not a beat you down. It's a how can we make this work together? How can we all come out ahead here? Um, let's figure out a solution.
Yeah, I think that there's a lot of power and just over history through unions and organizations where you have a large group of people, you kind of have some say and you have the ability to negotiate and in a positive manner, right? Like not like you said, not sitting there trying to like, this is what's wrong with you and this organization. It's like, hey, this is how
Because
can
at
we
the
make
end
this
of the
better?
day, we need those organizations to do well. We
100%.
need them to be successful because if they're successful, then we're getting the views, we're getting the eyeballs. Like we need that, but at the same time, anglers got to look out for you got to look out for your own butt and make sure that you're not getting totally um, hosed. You know, I mean, every year in year out because they it kind of if you look at it over time, it's kind of happened like just a little bit every year.
Slowly.
You look back, you're like, oh my gosh, what? Like 3 year, 4 years went by, and it actually becomes a lot more clear and what's happening.
Yeah. Well, and it's just I mean, like little hikes in entry fees, right? Like just a little hike, but over
It's okay this year. Yeah, it's just a little more, and then it happens again. Oh, it's just a little more, and then you're like 4 years later, like, oh my gosh,
you're like,
five
the
hundred
numbers
dollars more
changed.
per tournament, or $1,000 more per tournament. Do that across 7, 8, 9 tournaments, like 10 grand more a year.
Yeah. Yeah,
Mhm,
exactly. And if that payout number is not moving, like
mhm,
you have to front the bill either as an angler with a business or with your sponsors. And it's like, how do you it's hard to, I feel like, and this is outside perspective completely, but it's hard to go, especially if we have you know, start to see some correction and there's less baits being sold, there's less boats being sold, whatever it may be. It's hard to go back to a sponsor and be like, hey, this is costing more here. Like if you can't add more value because you're not able to bring in more sales, how can you go negotiate a
mhm,
larger contract?
mhm.
So it kind of sticks it back to the angler.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, man, it's a tough game. It's but at the end of the day, you know, it's an addictive thing, and we love it. So there's a price, you know, there's a price to that too. I always say there there's a price for happiness as well. So like, I mean, at the end of the day, if you it's going to cost you 5 to 10 grand more this year, is your happiness of still being able to go fishing worth it? And also, does it work with your family and your, you know, everyone's? everyone's situation and has a different dynamic going on in their life. But if you're going to be unhappy, or it might be worth a little more just to be happy and go do it. So it depends on where you draw that line, and you know, it can't be silly financially.
Sure. I think everyone's situation is different, and something that I related to, just my younger brother's a freaking incredible wrestler. He just won D1s at NCAAs this year.
Awesome.
And I listened to a bunch of podcast stuff around that, just was following him in this season. And like, it's a very similar situation with wrestling almost. You can draw a parallel because the guys who are wrestling Olympically and stuff after college, like, there's no monetary gain that's that great, right? Like, it's the same kind of deal, personal endorsements and a little salary from USA Wrestling or whatever it may be, but, like, they're doing it because they love it, and it's the
Hmm.
same kinda thing with tournament fishing. It's not a you're not going to play the NBA or any major sports organization. Like, you have to do it to love it, and I think that you're right. I think people need to view that there's a price for that
Hmm.
happiness level and that drive and that love for it, so you either have to make it work on your end.
Yeah, I mean, do you want to make $50,000 a year and be a professional bass fisher? This is just hypothetically, or do you want to make 80,000 and go work a sales job and a traveling sales job?
Yeah,
I don't know. That's for you to decide. How much do you love it? Um, how much does the extra money matter to your family? I mean, that's what it all boils down to. And can you scale your fishing to maybe get there? And you got to sometimes you got to gamble on yourself in
yeah,
everything in life, whether it be fishing, whether it be business. If it's something you truly love and something you truly believe in yourself in, um, if you love it enough and you work hard at it enough, no matter what it is, fishing, business, whatever. If you believe in yourself, sometimes you got to gamble on yourself a little bit.
yeah. Dude, I think that's words of wisdom, and yeah, everyone's situation is different. You got to decide what works for you, because there's plenty of guys who are happy fishing a local Toyota series, and have their job and
Hmm.
that kind of a situation, and that works for people. And then there's guys who are like, dude, like, that's I want to get after it. I want to be at that national scale, and there's a price, and you got to figure out how to make ends meet.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's
And
cool
and I
though.
think and I think at different stages in people's lives, that could change. Like, my life right now, still we're getting married this year, but we don't have kids. Like, I can be aggressive, but maybe 3, 4 years from now, we're married and have a little kid. I'm probably not gonna, I'm probably just, I could see myself, instead of doing a total series like and 3 opens and a Toyota, I'm probably just gonna do like the one series and maybe one set of something. Maybe.
Yeah,
I think and then I think it changes for everybody at different stages in their life on where they want to be in their fishing.
yeah. And I think that you see that kind of through guys' careers as they kind of settle down and have a family and have kids and want to be around.
Hmm.
Um, you see him from like a Edwin Evers living in a camper, and I mean, just going everywhere to just maybe fishing a series and maybe squeaking in another one. And I'm not saying necessarily with him, but like, you see kind of these high
Yep.
level guys that used to just, I mean, 30 tournaments a year, like, it
Yep.
have come down to a professional circuit.
Yeah, just one. I've seen it a lot recently. Guys who used to. I mean, you even look at a Wheeler,
Yeah.
Jacob Wheeler, for instance. Last year he fished, or 2 years ago he fished Pro Circuit. He fished all the Bass Pro Tour events. He fished some Toyotas. I think this year he's just doing the Bass Pro Tour and Toyotas. But he has like, I mean, dude, he has a kid. He may have another one on the way. I'm not sure. But it's just an example. Like,
Sure.
and I don't blame him. Like, I'd probably be doing the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not that he can't go win everyone, because he probably would, but he's proven that already.
Exactly. Yeah. No, I think it's cool, and I think, another thing that I've talked about, I was actually talking about on the water, on Texoma with a buddy, was like, I think that sometimes at least me, and maybe this isn't everybody, but I feel like, think about such a futuristic thing, and, I'm like, well, if I do this, then it sets me up for like this for the next 10, 15 years. But you don't necessarily have to view it that way. Like, as long as you're making progress and moving forward, it's like you said, 3, 4 years from now, if you want to take a step back and fish less tournaments, there's nothing wrong with that. It's all what you want to do at that time.
Absolutely, man. You got. Sorry, I'm moving places.
You're
Get
good.
over here.
The
Um,
charging cord.
Yep, Charger.
Been there.
No, you nailed it. I think everybody at different places is different strokes for different folks, pretty much. So
Yeah,
you're on it.
yeah. Well, and I kind of back to if we'll ever see anything like we saw in the 2000s range. Oh, we might have lost him. Let's see. Did he get his plug back in? We might be losing him. Anyways, regarding the early 2000s payouts and late 1990s payouts, like that whole time frame, I think that I wonder if we see.
Got me?
You got me. Yeah,
Right.
we're good. Did it die and then came back that quick?
No, I got a cord. It just went in standby. Okay.
Gotcha. Nice. Nice. But anyways, I was saying going back to the if we'll ever see big payouts again in tournament fishing like we saw, I think the only reason, and I just don't necessarily see it because I think the marketing dollars are away, but with how popular tournament fishing has become and so many guys, it's like if we do see a decrease in entries because inflation gets bad enough to where guys are like, look, man, it's going to be way more to go fish tournaments this year and boats are now $120,000 or whatever. Like when you get to that, like up there, do you think that we'll start to see a cool off on the lower level tournaments? I mean, the AAA, like not 250 boats trying to sign up or a huge waiting list for the opens, or do you think that that's not even?
I don't know. Our sport's growing so fast, which is very cool. And the only way we're going to see payouts increase is if the sport continues to grow and more fans watch it. The more people who watch it, the more people get involved, the more people who buy stuff in the industry. But another reason that payouts aren't as great is because there's more anglers, there's more tournament series, there's more dollars being spread around to different places, and they're not all in like used to just be, pretty much like the Bassmaster. So they were all the money was there.
Sure.
So now, there's more money, but there's more anglers and there's more. So the money kind of it's getting a little more diluted. But the more people who watch, the more people who follow, the more people who fish, which means the more people who are in our tournaments.
Yep.
That's the only way to make our sport grow, make the money grow. I'm not saying it's might not get back to the glory days, but hopefully we can see it get a little better in the future. But it wouldn't shock me if they cool off a little bit, in the next couple of years, if there is a little downturn. Wouldn't shock me. But I still don't think it'll be like. Maybe I'm wrong. I just try and be an optimist and be bullish on a lot of things, and it'll probably bite me it will bite me at some point. But I don't like being a bear.
Yeah.
But I just think everyone thinks this big economic crash is kind of. I don't think we're in for a crash. Maybe a little. It's going to be a little. I mean, yeah, you probably don't want to go buy. Interest rates are coming up. Stuff's just gonna cost more. I mean, money is just cheap to borrow, so people are gonna spend less. But I don't know, man. I just don't. I don't see this big gloomy doomy big bust coming. I see maybe a little correction. People are still gonna spend money and do some things. So
yeah, no, I'm the same way. I think being positive helps in so many things, but it's interesting because it's almost to me, and this could be absolutely false, but just with the people that I talk to, it's almost a generational thing in my eyes to an extent. Like the more, and this is no shade thrown, but like older people that I talk to are like, oh, it's coming. Like here we freaking go. Like you haven't lived through this. And I'm like, I haven't, but I don't agree.
So true, man. It is true. Like 50s and 60s, you hear those people, they're dead set. It's bad times are coming. And maybe they're old and wise. We should listen to them. But I don't know. I want to be a little more optimistic about it.
Yeah. And no one can predict the bottom anyway. So to me, it's just not worth spending time worrying about.
Yeah, it's all speculation. And at the end of the day, if it does, like, no matter what the economic state is, there's always a way to make it and what you want to do. You just got to figure out a way to be creative and work hard. So,
sure.
Why worry about it?
Yeah.
I mean, be smart about it. Don't do stupid stuff. Like, mean, maybe this isn't the time to go above your means and buy the house of your dreams. I mean, at the top of the market, or maybe this isn't the time where you're looking for Natalie a new car, but we're
Yeah.
probably going to hold off now. Like just stuff like that.
Sure. And that's a decision though that like that's like the start of this in my eyes. Like I think from the stuff that I kind of listen to and research wise, like it takes a long time for inflation to actually set in with people, especially like interest rates and that kind of a thing as they're flying up right now. Like people aren't really changing their habits now, but in
Mhm.
like 8 months, a year from now, like that's when you kind of see like say it is time, like you said, to go buy a new car and or a house or that kind of a situation. That's when you see folks kind of take a double take and say, maybe not. And that's exactly what you just did, right? That's the economic system working because you were like, probably doesn't make sense right now.
Exactly. Yep. I mean, gas prices have gone up, so not only is she going to have a little bit of a car payment, but also we're looking at an extra fuel bill. She's going to get an SUV. She's got a car now. It's paid off. So like you're right. I mean, we're seeing it happening. I mean, even in
Yeah,
everyday life.
just little steps. But we're still going to go hammer down tournament morning at 78 miles an
Right.
hour, 75 miles an hour, and
Right.
let her eat.
Burning about 2 miles to the gallon, baby. Eating.
That's right. That's right. Well, dude, I appreciate you coming on today. We'll kind of wrap things up here. And I'm just curious on your end if you, well, not even necessarily curious, but if you want any shout outs right now as far as where folks can follow along with you
Hmm.
and anything that you've got going new would be a
Yeah,
good time.
no, I'd love for people to follow my YouTube channel. It's John Hunter Fishing, trying to put out some cool content. And then my social pages, I'm on Instagram at J Hunter Fishing, on Facebook, John Hunter Fishing. And then also, I'm going to tease it.
Yeah.
Me and buddy Brett Cannon. Um, Brett's a awesome guy to follow in the industry. Brett Cannon on Instagram, but him and I have launched a hydration supplement company called WATR, Water Additive to Rehydrate. It's on Instagram, Water Nutrition, WATR Nutrition, at Water Nutrition, and we're launching in 2 weeks. So we've already got some content out there. Would love for you guys to go give the page a follow so that you can get all the updates and latest news about our launch here in about 10 to 14 days. So yeah, we're excited about that, and I'll come on another time and share Adam a little more about that.
Yeah.
But we're still a couple weeks from launch, but love for you guys to follow and get all the latest updates on it.
Heck yeah, man. I will link that in the show notes as well, guys, to go follow that. You're always looking at that next entrepreneurial step, man. I love it. Like in the industry, out of the industry, you're always trying to hustle and build a brand. So very cool. Excited for that. And I think I actually at Texoma needed a link and I think Brett's guy backed out or something. So I linked with him at the Toyota
Awesome.
there on Texoma.
Great. Yeah, Brett's a good dude. Yep.
Yeah. Sweet. Well,
Awesome.
thanks, John, for coming on, dude, and we'll absolutely get you back on and in the future here to talk about that. But thanks for taking the time out, and good luck at Pickwick.
Perfect. Thanks, Adam.